How you doing out there? Greetings and may God bless all of you that are watching. I wanted to give my thoughts on the George Floyd murder that happened in Minneapolis, Minnesota. When I first started hearing about this case, I remember all I was seeing was photos at first. And I was a little curious. And nowadays, when I hear about a police-involved shooting with a black man as a victim, I almost get numb to it. It's like there's another one. You know, I get a little angry, a little sad, a little, frustrated for a moment. But then I think they don't value us. Ain't no telling when I'm going to go at the hands of a police officer. So you just have to learn to deal with it. Eventually, black people in this country have to learn to deal with racism and live with it and try to get along as best you can and not try to make it a systematic thing among people, because I honestly believe that there are a lot of white people that mean well, a lot of white police officers, but there's police departments all over this country that are racist and they want to see the downfall of a black man. And that's just the reality. That white woman in New York that got ready to get on her phone and tell that black man that was filming her, I'm gonna get on the phone and I'm gonna call the police and tell them that a black man is threatening me. She knows the power of a white woman's voice. So she's going to weaponize that as much as she can, because it's her word against his, and they're going to believe women and white women more than a black man, because a black man is always up to trouble. He's up to no good. So when I first started seeing photos, I was like, why the protests? Why all of this marching the streets and, picketing and vandalism and riots, when we should be used to this? But then I saw the video like 2 days later. I saw the video like that Wednesday. It happened on Memorial Day, and then that Wednesday I saw the video, and I was nervous at first, and then because I get this message on YouTube saying this is a graphic, disturbing video. Please confirm that you agree to the terms in which you're about to watch a video that's very disturbing. And I said, okay, confirm. And then the beginning of the video, 9-minute video, I see this officer, whatever his name is, Derek, on it with his knee on this black man's neck. And he's saying repeatedly, "I can't breathe." I was starting to get emotional the first time he said, "I can't breathe." And I've been noticing all kind of comments and people saying stuff, making political statements about this. I'm like, imagine if that was you. Imagine if that was you. You're begging for your life. You're saying, "I can't breathe." All right, let me stand up. And I'm hearing a voice in the back, and it sounds like a bystander, another black guy saying, "Just get up, man. Just get up, get in the car, do what you're told." And I'm picturing me if I was walking by and I didn't want to actually go and attack the police, approach them like some of the other bystanders did. They actually tried to approach the police. I would have been that person saying, "Just get up, just comply, just get in the car." But here's the thing. They wasn't even trying to get him in the vehicle. They was trying to kill him. That's why that 3rd-degree charge needs to be changed to a 1st-degree. You was trying to kill him. Why? Because you disregarded every attempt that he made for you to get up when he said, "I can't breathe." When the man had his knee on his neck the whole entire time, even when he stopped moving and stopped talking, he's talking for a good 6, 7 minutes, 8 minutes, moving. Like, "Man, I can't get up." He says, "Mama, mama." And that's when I just started getting emotional. I'm like, man, this dude is crying for his mama. Blood coming from his nose, foaming at the mouth. You could see blood on the concrete. from blood coming out of his nose, from the pressure of the man's knee on his neck. You can see a wet spot around his mouth from where he was foaming at the mouth and drooling onto the street. The cops saw all of this. Whatever explanation he gives in terms of, I didn't know I was killing him, how many more signs do you need? Because I guarantee you he's going to come out trying to say something like, I didn't know I was killing him. I didn't know I was suffocating him. I didn't know I was cutting off his windpipe, whatever. How many signs do you need? You got blood on the concrete from his nose. You got blood around his nose. You got foam coming from his mouth. How many more signs do you need? The people, the pastors, the people that are standing by, the bystanders, they're saying, check his pulse, check his pulse. They won't do it. They are not out to protect and serve. I have tried telling people for years that the racist police that are in police departments all over the country, they are not out to protect and serve. They are out to protect and serve white people. They are out to protect and serve other races and genders. White women, black women don't get pulled over as much as black men. This happens a lot. Black people are fed up. They are protesting and rioting and picketing and looting all over the nation because they're fed up. Their voices are not heard, and the system doesn't work. All these people are wanting to get out and say vote, go to the voting polls like that mayor in Atlanta. Take your frustration out on the voting poll. Take your frustration out this November. The system doesn't work. We don't know what president is going to be up in there in November, and all of these convictions, these wrongful convictions that you hear about. I did a video a month ago about a guy in Kansas City that just got released from prison after doing 25 years for a wrongful conviction and was awarded somewhere around $3 million for his time in prison. The system doesn't work. You can say whatever about the time we're living in. Oh, we got DNA evidence now. We got DNA evidence. You know, we can put away a person and we can release a person based upon DNA evidence. Well, if it's 30 years after the fact, can you give me back those 30 years? No, you can't. The only thing that money does is help you start over, begin a new life. If you're indigent, if you're poor, if you don't have nowhere to go, you could take that money, which it will take a while to get, and get yourself together, get settled, you know, get you an apartment, get you a car, you know, try looking for a job because that money ain't gonna be there always. But it's the idea of you go through that. People always say, go to the voting polls, go to, you know, take your frustration out on there. And I'm not condoning violence. I'm not condoning rioting, looting, you know, and vandalizing police cars and facing off with them. That's even more dangerous because at the same time, trying to release your frustration out on the police, now it's just open season. They had to first get to George Floyd's car and pull him out before they killed him. He wasn't even resisting arrest, even though they tried to say he was resisting arrest. There's no video that shows he was resisting arrest. But they had to eventually get to the vehicle, get him out the vehicle, put him in handcuffs, put him on the ground, and then that's when they said, we're going to just kill him. But here's what target practice is like right now for a lot of racist cops that just want to off black people, and you don't even have to worry about pulling them out the car. They just dumping. Now they just dumping. If you don't believe me this will happen, just go back and look up the riots of Newark, New Jersey in the 60s. There was a woman that was in her apartment. Her name was Rebecca Brown. She was in her apartment, and her little 2-year-old child was crawling around the window, and the police had the streets outside barricaded, and they just going through, just firing off rounds, dumping. Protesters out there, whoever, they don't care. They just out there dumping. So what's important for protesters to know is once it's open season for black people, because they see that the threat is getting larger based on the number of people, they just gonna start dumping, just start shooting, letting off rounds. And it's like, you gotta ask yourself, do you want to defend the honor of George Floyd so bad that you're willing to die yourself? But I understand the frustration. It's risky to go out there and protest, especially if you're not doing it lawfully. You have to get an injunction from a court or a police department of some of that nature to even be lawfully protesting. If it's in violation of some way the public health, the public safety, because the transit departments in the city need to be notified to take different routes. All of this stuff I've researched years ago when it came to the civil rights movement and the march that Martin Luther King led, in Selma, Alabama, going to Montgomery. They got lawful permits to protest. They weren't like these people that we heard about yesterday that was on a highway, and a semi just went full speed running over a bunch of them. They flooding the streets, and it's like, what do you expect? A man that has to get to work, a man that's on work release, or house arrest, and he has to hurry up and get back to his facility or back to his home. Otherwise, it'll hit the police precinct and his probation officer would be notified. A woman trying to pick up her kids from the babysitter because she knows that the babysitter charges extra if she don't pick her up in time, the daughter, son, whatever, and they're going to just sit here and wait for these protesters to get out the way. And in a sense, what's happening is the same innocence that people are putting on George Floyd for that death to be undeserved. You're repeating that same type of formula, a lot of these protesters, to people who had nothing to do with that. And that's what people don't realize. All you know is that you're frustrated. You're gonna attack the innocent and at the same time defend the innocent. George Floyd was innocent. He wasn't resisting arrest. This is messed up. We need to end police brutality. We need to end the racism. We need to end bigotry. I get all of that, but you're repeating the same formula that was done on George Floyd. And God wants us to find different remedies. Pray. Seek God. Even though you can die from complying, pray. Get away from the windows. This woman that was killed in Newark, New Jersey, I believe it was back in 1967, July 12th. She knew that the barricades was outside. They got 2 barricades in Los Angeles, and closing in on them. They closing in on them tighter, shooting out the tear gas. These are looters that's out there. And I do believe there's people from other states, that are coming in, flooding, hijacking the protests, being violent, looking for a reason to participate in anarchy, because that's really what it is. There are people that are waiting for the time of insurrection. They're waiting. They want the perfect excuse. It's not genuine with them because they want to get jewelry that's normally $100,000, but you can get it for free, the 5-finger discount, as soon as you got people breaking open the windows and trashing the store, and there's people that's not even guarding their stores too. I remember in the LA riots, there was Asians and many people out there with shotguns just waiting, guarding their store. A lot of people are not even guarding. They like, it's too dangerous. Some people are already saying this is the worst protest they've ever seen as far as race riots. This is the worst they've ever seen. And it's only going to get worse until people calm down and just take a breather and just say, you know what, this is not the answer. Pray to God. It says in Isaiah 58:2, yet they seek me daily and delight to know my ways, as a nation that did righteousness and forsook not the ordinances of their God. They ask of me the ordinances of justice. They ask of me. You got to get to a point where you say, God, render justice. It may not be the same justice that the city is supposed to do or the state. But I can tell you right now, when they issue the National Guard, justice changes. It's no longer Miranda rights. It's no longer detain you for about 5 minutes and run your driver's license and then take you in. We're going to shoot you. We're going to shoot and kill you. There was a sign that I remember watching a photo during the Watts riots in California. There was a sign. I don't know if it came from the police or the rioters, but more than likely the police. There was a sign during the Watts riots, I believe in 1965, during the Watts riots, there was a sign that said, turn left or get shot. That might have been the highway patrolman. That might have been the National Guard. That might have been the state police, the city police. It's open season. You can't die off of provocation. Now, George Floyd, he wasn't provoking the cops to kill him. If he gave a counterfeit bill to that merchant, if he was resisting arrest, it did not deserve death. And everybody widely understands that. That's part of the frustration. Also, what's part of the frustration is black people have been saying for years that they're discriminated against, they're racially profiled, nobody's want to believe us. Now you have a full video where you have a person going from life to death. This is not the Rodney King riot where it was just a beating. This is not the Watts riots where it was just fighting going on and police brutality. This is an actual video of life to death. Life to death. You see it. You actually see him take his last breath. He's gulping for air, and that doesn't even make him get off his neck. He's trying to struggle for air. He's on the ground and he's gasping for air. And I'm just noticing this cop, and I'm like, you just merciless, ain't you? You merciless. You merciless. You're the personification of evil. You are the devil. I remember after that video, I just cried for like 10 minutes. And I prayed to God. And I said, God, what I saw was very disturbing. Very disturbing. I said some things that I really shouldn't have said, and I had to take it back in my prayer. I was so frustrated and angry and confused and sad at this cop's blatant disregard for human life, his shamelessness for human life, that I actually said to God in my prayer, God, this is like the Wednesday. This is before charges even came upon him. I said, God, I pray that this man get executed. I pray that this man get executed. And I ain't never prayed upon somebody's death before. And forgive me if I'm wrong for saying that. But that's how I feel. This man had a blatant disregard for his life. Blatant. Wide open. Daylight. People watching. He like, I don't care. I'm not letting off his neck. What else do you need? My wife told me there was a video of him going to the restroom on himself. You can see a puddle coming near. And whatever excuse he gives, it's like, I didn't know whatever, because I've tried thinking of how he can defend himself. I didn't know he was dying. I didn't know this is a police procedure. I doubt that's a police procedure. I doubt they teach you that in the academy. Maybe to be on somebody's back with your knee to restrain them. But to stay there when they are struggling for air, they can't breathe, to stay there, and they're saying, let me stand up. How long does it take for the paramedics to get there too? That was 9 minutes. And this is why a lot of black people say we're taking justice into our own hands. For one, the neighborhood that we live in, a lot of people, the reason why they own guns, because if you call the police based on an intruder, it's going to take them 20 minutes to get to the house. They don't care about that life. They don't care about that black life. Look at the housing discrimination black people have gone through. The areas that cops know we live in, you call the police because you got an intruder, somebody breaking in your house, they got a weapon on them. They get there 20 minutes late, you already dead. You already gone. That's why you got to protect yourself. You got to have you a weapon. You got to have you a gun to protect your family. By the time the police get there, you dead. They could pull you over at any given time and shoot you and tell you something like you was resisting arrest, or say something like he was trying to fight us. I learned in the Miami riots that happened in 1967, I believe. No, McDuffie, Arthur McDuffie, in 1980. The police cracked this man's head open, the black man. Now, granted, he was drunk and he took him on a chase. But by the time they caught up with him, they scuffling and they cracked this man on his head. But reports came out later that the police purposely ran over his motorcycle, destroyed his gauges to make it look like he crashed. And the officers were charged. I believe they were actually charged, but they were acquitted. Just like the 4 officers in Rodney King. just like so many other officers that were charged and were acquitted. You got there, a lot of protesters and rioters right now, they're taking justice into their own hands. All those that are trying to figure out the level of frustration is because no justice comes. You go through the system and nothing comes about from it. These mayors and politicians that are saying vote, take your frustrations out on the voting polls and all this other stuff, nothing comes about from it. Nobody keeps us in favor. And you always have to remember that when a black man is trying to press charges, for instance, on a white racist police officer, the black man can be by himself. You can give him 3-4 civil rights attorneys. Guess what the cop got in terms of support? He got the DA's office. He got the police commissioner. He got the police chief. He got fellow police officers that won't testify against him. He got district judges. He got multiple law enforcement agencies. He got city councilmen. And a black man, what he got? You can have the NAACP behind you. You still not gonna win. The officers can be acquitted, or one officer can be acquitted, and then you stuck, dealing with these bruises and dealing with the video, whatever, dealing with being harassed still on a daily basis, and the cops get off for free. People are upset and frustrated and mad because a black life is not valued at all from the racist police in the police department. There are good cops. There are nice and genuine cops. I had a cop help me push my car that broke down on the street once, and help me. It was a black cop, I will say that, but help me push it up into a gas station, and get off the street. But it's the idea of there's not a lot of them. A lot of people feel. You have white women that are willing to weaponize the ideology of saying this black man is threatening, or this black man is threatening me. And I believe you got a lot of tough guys, a lot of white tough guys that join the police academy because they've always wanted to press their luck. They always wanted a challenge. And the best way to give somebody a challenge is to wear a badge and a gun and to be the judge, the jury, the DA, all in one person. Johnny Cochran said that in his closing argument in the O.J. Simpson trial. A police officer that pulls over a black man, he can be the judge, he could be the arresting officer, the jury, because he's going to save a lot of taxpayers' money right now by just letting off in them. And then planting drugs and other stuff to make it seem like, he was the scum of the earth and he gave me a fight. So it's your word against mine. The city is not going to mourn over you. They would rather support me. Why? Because I'm heroic. I lay down my life on the job every day. That is the sentiment that allows multiple law enforcement agencies to stick together. It's the fact that cops lay down their lives every day out there doing their duty on the street. So you don't testify against them. You don't turn state evidence against them, because there's a code that they try to preserve. We are out here fighting for our lives. Why are you going to testify for the sake of this drug dealer, for the sake of this black man who ain't got nothing anyway? We come from abandoned homes, a lot of us, single parent homes, single mother, a lot of neighborhoods black people come from. We've already went through abuse and abandonment, and then you're not valued from the police. You got a mark on your head from the police. But it's okay, because we have an advocate, and it's Jesus Christ. Pray. Go home, stay home, protesters out there, pray. Seek God. He will find justice his way. We're not going to find it through the city and the state and the federal. I was watching a Netflix documentary the other day about Jeffrey Epstein, and I started learning of all of these women that he abused. And there was a U.S. attorney who was once trying to prosecute the case on Jeffrey Epstein and failed to do it. and let the man continue to abuse women just because of his wealth, just because of his pull, just because of his connections, just because the idea he could be paid off. And he probably did get paid off. And a lot of multiple police agencies, law enforcement agencies do get paid off. That's why they don't prosecute police officers. That's why they don't prosecute wrongdoing, because people are paid off. What we need to do is pray that God seeks justice his way. Let him find justice his way. When you read about all of these riots, you learn a lot of them happen in the summer. Police involved shootings, a lot of them happen in the summer and stuff. You know, and I started thinking, doing research the other day, does the devil want to attack during the summer? April to August, I'm learning about a lot of riots that happened in the 60s. Cincinnati, 67. You know, Newark, New Jersey, 67. You know, LA riots, April. You know, end of April, early May. You know, I'm learning about all these Liberty City, Miami, 68. You know, and this is right after Martin Luther King was assassinated. You know, and there's a history also of a system that doesn't work. No charges being pressed, all white juries. The law says a jury of your peers. All white juries. And people already know it's not, the favor is against you. So they're taking matters out in their own hands, these protesters. This is how they seek justice. But vandalism, rioting, smashing police cars, pulling motorists out of their vehicles at stoplights, beating them, that's not the answer. All you're going to do is have law enforcement trace video surveillance from months ago when all of this is said and done, and they're going to find your location, and they're going to come and arrest you. They're going to put you in the precinct. You can plead not guilty, guilty, whatever. But when they got the surveillance video, and then they're giving you 4 to 5 years for something that happened months ago, but everything has died down because they're able to process everything, you're going to have to think about it. Was it all worth it? For the sake of George Floyd, would he want you taking a risk, harming yourself, harming others, going to jail, dying? I heard a 19-year-old kid died recently. It's not safe out there on the streets. Pray. Pray. Let God find justice.